Now, one organization in Nigeria is very concerned about the shutdown of communication in Zamfara state. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, says it should be brought to an end. But our guest will joining us later. We'll be speaking with Deputy Director of SERAP. Okay, I hear he is here now. Deputy Director of SERAP, Kalawole Oluwadare. Thank you for joining us on the news. Now, first of all, talk to us about the concerns you have about this shutdown of telecommunications services in Zamfara state, because you would recall the government had given its reasons, saying that as a result of the military offenses being carried out in the state, it had to shut down the telecommunications services.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that SERAP recognizes the sacrifice being paid daily and dearly too by members of the armed forces in their fight against terrorism and banditry. And of course, we are aware also of the responsibilities of government to protect life and property. It's the constitutional duty at that. But our concern is on the suspension of the internet and telecommunications generally in Zamfara and parts of Katsina state without any legal justification. And we believe that this is inconsistent with the fundamental principles of necessity and proportionality. And these are clearly provided for by even Section 45 of the Constitution, in derogating from the rights, the fundamental human rights that are provided in the same. Up till this very moment, I am not aware of any law being under which the government purports to have taken this action. And that is why that underscores the basis of our concern.
When you say legal justification, what do you mean, or what do you intend to see from government? Because some would say that desperate situations will require desperate measures. And the governor of the state is even asking that the government intensify this military offensive.
We need to be clear, this is not about the military offensive. This is about the shutdown of telecommunications. And it is clear, and as stated and provided by Section 45 of the Constitution, fundamental rights being important require some specific principles before those rights can be derogated from. And that is the legality, necessity, and proportionality. And those three principles we are yet to find in the actions of the government in shutting down telecommunication services in these two states. So the question that we pose back to government from this initiative is, under which law did the federal government purport to act? And that answers the question of legality and to take away these rights. And proportionality, is this action in turning off communications, is it proportional to the dangers and the issues raised? And then we can go to necessity. Is this really necessary? Are there no other measures which will pose less intrusive risk to the peoples of these states? And those are the questions that is pertinent that the government will answer in this instance.
Now, if you are to suggest to government, what other measures could the government have taken?
And that is why the government is empowered to act. That is to end banditry and to secure the lives of Nigerians, which is great. But in doing that, there are principles that they need to derogate from the rights of the people. And so the onus is on the government in this instance, because these are fundamental rights, to prove that they have weighed all these options and this is the best they can do in this instance. I would liken it to, if democracy were to be a religion, the rule of law and the fundamental rights, of course, will be the moral code. And so these rights cannot be taken away arbitrarily. I understand the government is yet to stay under any law within which it had acted. And so that is the first thing the government needs to do, and to have weighed these options and to guarantee Nigerians that indeed government has weighed all this before taking those actions, not just to act on the spur of the moment, or what is called a knee-jerk reaction, which means infringing on the fundamental rights of other people, the basis of securing the fundamental rights of others.
Now you're asking government you have given government a 7-day ultimatum. Are you engaging perhaps necessary stakeholders with regards to your concerns as it is?
The primary stakeholders will be people of Zamfara. Katsina states, because they are the victims, immediate victims, at least at present. But the primary actors will be the president, the box stops at his table as the head of the executive, and then the NCC, that is the Minister of Information, that directs affairs of communications, under which he takes his instructions from the president. And that is why this open letter addresses those two instances. The letter was written to the president for him to instruct the Minister of Information and then the NCC to stop the telecommunications shutdown. This is not about the military offensive, and that does not affect the offensive in any way.
Right. So what happens then if you do not get a favorable response?
We are very hopeful that we will get a positive response from the government, because these are matters of law and there are constitutional provisions in this regard. But ultimately, we may be compelled to approach the courts to interpret these actions of government vis-a-vis the fundamental rights codified in Chapter 4 of the Constitution and the acts of the government in shutting down telecommunications under no law whatsoever. But we are very, very hopeful that we'll get a good response.
All right, we'll leave the conversation here now. Deputy Director of SERAP, Kalawole Oluwadare, thank you for your time on the news.